This is a podcast called 25 Whistles, talking basketball, and they all wear a whistle. Yeah, it's stupid, but what did you expect? It's a podcast called 25 Whistles.
25 Whistles.
All right, welcome to episode 46, where we have Joe Lunardi coming on later, which is pretty cool. Although I will admit, I think he thought he was coming on to talk about teams and bubble teams, and I was like, dude, tell me everything about your life. And he was like, dang, you care a lot about my life. And I was like, yeah, man. And I think it was different. I think he liked it. I like Joe Lunardi, but I don't think it was what he thought it was going to be, which is cool.
He probably liked it. No one has ever asked Joe about Joe.
Right. Like Joe had to be like, nobody ever cares about me. So I hope he felt loved.
Yeah, that's cool.
But we did get to basketball as well. Also, something I learned today is Coleman has legs.
I did.
Yeah,
Never
he's
seen
two
them.
of them.
He's in studio. We've only seen him on FaceTime. I've never met him until today, like physically. We embraced a little too long.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. But
I get it.
he's here. His wife's also in studio too.
Yeah.
Which, has she ever been introduced?
She
on the
has
show?
No.
You don't have to be on the show if you don't want to.
I'm Emily.
She's on the show.
Now you're on. There she is, Emily,
Yay!
everybody. Woo! There she is, Emily. Hey, Emily, how's this whole thing been? Not him traveling around, but him being involved in this, because it kind of came out of nowhere, obviously.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was like very shocked about it, but I'm used to it now. He's been gone for like 2 months now.
Yeah.
So,
It's pretty cool, though, he's gone, huh? You get to do your own thing.
yeah, it's fun to live by myself. And then whenever I want, if he's like in a cool city, I'll just fly in.
This was
See?
all actually her idea, the entire trip. She just wanted me to get the heck out of here.
Yeah, I get it. And is your new boyfriend, is he muscular? Or
Yeah, he's a lot bigger.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. So, look, we're all here. Coleman's here in person, which is pretty cool. Are you going to be here Monday, too?
I will.
You went to the game here in town last night, the Belmont game?
Yes.
Did they win?
They did. By 1 point, came back down 17 at half. It was awesome.
They were down 17.
17 at half.
And who did you interview for this show we're going to do later? Missouri State?
I don't know if Casey Alexander will be on this one, so Missouri State, Dana Ford, their head coach.
And how was he?
He was awesome.
You went up there. Is that when we talked to you in Branson?
Yes.
And how was he, like, as a dude? Like, nice?
Incredible. All three that I've interviewed have been so nice. I mean, for me, that's like a dream to get to talk to these coaches about their journey. I mean, I've been playing dynasty modes on NCAA college basketball for about the last 20 years.
Lead with that.
So-
They like that. Yeah.
So to ask them about their journey, their come up from a smaller conference to now a mid-major, and then, hopefully looking to make a bigger step, I guess, in the future.
Did you get free tickets for that show?
Yeah, both Missouri State and Belmont hooked me up.
Let's go.
Is it because we're hooking it up?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
You guys have been
Awesome.
game changers for
Great
me.
job,
I really
guys.
appreciate it.
You're welcome, man.
You haven't done
What do you
crap.
mean? What do you mean?
Neither
I
have I.
okay.
I'm going to be honest about this. I said, like, one thing. I said, hey, can we make sure that Coleman gets into these games and has access? That's all I said. And then Kevin and Mike and Lauren freaking bulldog it. And Eddie and I don't do crap.
Yeah,
except
really?
for so shut up.
All right,
Yeah, let him get
all
their
right.
flowers.
Hey, Coleman, I didn't do
He
anything.
didn't do
Okay,
crap.
well, shout out to them because they have been making my world so much easier.
Next thing, gas. Can you guys help with that?
Nope. That's
No,
where we stop it.
yeah, that's
Yep,
it.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Understand?
All right, let's warm up here. Here's the warm-up question. And there's a reason I'm asking it, but we'll talk about tennis for just a second. And that you ever played at all? Like, what's the most tennis you've ever played? Because today is National Tennis Day.
Really?
Yeah,
It's random.
exactly. And I just saw it as a headline because they always do the stupid days. And I'm like, National Tennis Day. Here's the history of tennis. Ready for it?
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
pretty boring. Tennis has been a favorite sport of many since the 19th century. Tennis has been around since the mid-1800s, though. When two friends, exactly. Harry Jim and Aguero Piera developed the game on his lawn in England. And then it goes on and on. But what's the most tennis you've ever played? Eddie?
Middle school. So I played in 7th grade. I was like, I have to do an elective, and there was a hot girl in tennis, and I was like, I'm going to do tennis to get with this hot girl.
You got to pick
Did it work?
electives in 7th grade?
Yeah. I mean, it was just like a class.
But you got to pick something?
Yeah, you get to pick tennis. You want to do track. You want to do whatever.
wow.
Like, yeah, so I like tennis. But I didn't play any matches. I just went to the class.
Do we ever blow the whistle?
No, we didn't.
Oh, I got you. All right, everybody. All right, show starts.
But have you ever played on grass or ever walked on a grass court?
Yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah, what's that like? Like, is it soft grass, hard grass? Is it like a green on
It's,
golf?
I would say it's in the middle. So you have, and I only know this, and I can get to my tennis story in a minute, but there is a hard court, which is like,
like regular, what we know.
did you play tennis, Emily?
I did for
She's-
like a week. at my high
She's
school.
nodding like she's an ex-tennis champion. So I was like, maybe we should go to Emily for this. But there are like 3 levels. There's hard court, there's like a grass court, and then there's clay court. And the hard court, good for servers, because it's like ball flies off of it. Grass is kind of middle. You can move and you can serve. And clay is why certain players like Nadal win, because it's all about
Sliding.
It takes so much. Well, no, stop talking.
Hey, they slide. They do.
Stop talking.
Okay.
They do, but I'm saying that's moving because the ball loses a lot of
Steam.
Okay.
Spin.
No.
He's just throwing things out
Yes,
there.
he's just saying words.
Velocity.
McEnroe say. You can't. The ball doesn't bounce off the ground as hard, basically.
that's
because it's
good.
clay, so it takes a lot of the power away, power game. So those guys that can move dominate clay, which is why Nadal wins so many of those.
And it seems like they're just sliding all over the place when they play that, huh?
You did say that earlier. Thank you for that.
But I just wanted you to acknowledge that.
Thank you. I do acknowledge that.
Okay.
Kevin,
In high school, I was a TA for racket sports. It was a class. So that's probably the closest I've ever been.
a teacher's assistant.
Teacher's assistant.
Was
for
it
racket
just tennis,
sports.
or did you do?
So it was like tennis, handball, but with a racket. Every
That's
couple
called
months.
racquetball.
Racquetball.
Handball
That
with a
is
racket is called racquetball.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go.
yes.
They would
learned a
switch
lot.
it every couple months, and they be different games or different things to learn.
Mikey,
Wii Sports, I used to be really good
Wii Sports,
at Wii.
legit.
Yeah.
Coleman.
Very little. My buddies and I, after our senior year that summer, we played a lot of tennis, just a way to be competitive. But that's been the extent of my tennis career.
Didn't play any tennis at all ever. We had tennis courts that we played basketball on. We took the net down and played basketball at school. So we had no tennis at all. And I became friends with Andy Roddick, who was 3 or 4 in the world at the time. I didn't know him when he was number 1. When he won the U.S. Open, he was 19 then. But we became friends, and he was like, "You want some tennis gear?" And I was like, "I don't play tennis." He goes, "I didn't say that. Do you want tennis gear?" Yeah.
So like rackets and everything?
Bro, our little group, me, Ahmad, Cruz, we had a group of us. We had like $10,000 in tennis rack. We were like one nickel players with $10,000 gear.
I remember seeing all you guys wearing like the same shoes one time.
Oh, we were a professional tennis player. We had the shoes. We had the rackets. It cost like $2,000. Extra ones. They would get
Wristbands.
restrung. We were covered in Lacoste. Because Andy was just like, how many of your idiot friends do you want? You guys go play and make your own league up. So that's what he would do. We'd go up to the courts and be like, dang, these guys must be for real. Then we couldn't even serve it over the net. We were terrible.
You guys would go to the local high school.
Yeah, we would play all over. We were starting to get some tournament play. But then we stopped. But I much prefer pickleball. Pickleball's awesome. And then I was a pretty good racquetball player in college. But tennis never played it. And if you couldn't serve it, it's kind of over. And I just didn't have the patience. Didn't grow up with the game. It was kind of a rich person game.
And you know what was stupid with you and your buddies? And like this was a little before me. I went to
Me, or are you talking about in general? Me. specifically.
I went to maybe one match where we went to the high school and played, and you got into a fight with one of our buddies, and it was serious. And what's so stupid is like there's no judge there, so like they're arguing about it hit the line, bro. No, it didn't. Well, no one's gonna know who's right.
Exactly. That's not exactly what happened.
Was it the line? I remember the
It was
line
a line
being
call,
yelled.
but my argument is if you can't tell, just replay the point. If there's any argument about it whatsoever, replay the point.
And was it Cruz?
Obviously, it doesn't matter who it was. And obviously, I can't see. One of my eyes doesn't work at all. So I had to do a lot of trusting. But I would go like, that was out, or let's replay it. They'd be like, well, you can't see anyway. Trust me, it hit
So
the line. So we got to a massive fights.
I remember
but
that
just
one.
competition, you know? You know what's up.
Competitive,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the tittle tattle.
It's time for the stupidest name ever. It's the tittle tattle with Kickoff Kevin.
Which quarterback do you think is more likely to get a big contract, Daniel Jones or Geno Smith?
Just because of the market, probably Daniel Jones. I mean, asking for $45 million, changed his agent. And just because you ask for it doesn't mean you're going to get it. Doesn't even mean you really think you're going to get it. But if you ask for $45 million, it's easier to get $35 million. But man, he had his year. He did have his year. I mean, Dayball coming in, changed that kid's life. And he came in, he played wonderfully. Does he $25 million? Sure. I could see that. And not that that's not a whole lot of money. That's a crazy amount of money. But when you look at the market on quarterbacks that can actually produce, they have to pay him. Don't forget, they didn't take his 5th-year option. They were like, we're good. 4 years. We're good, buddy. See you later. Just finish this year out. We're out. They said no. They declined the option. Daniel Jones said, okay, well, we played. New coach comes in. The greatest thing to ever happen to him. The greatest thing to ever happen to him was that they didn't believe in him enough to sign on for another year. And they had a new coach coming in. They couldn't get another quarterback. So we're going to go with Daniel Jones. And they turned. And he's rich. He's going to be rich for years. He's good. He's financially set for the rest of his life. And he might actually be pretty good is the real thing. Because people started after, 6, 7 games, you have enough tape on a guy to know his tendencies, to know the tendencies of the offensive coordinator, of every. So in baseball, you get somebody a little tape, they can go, well, we just won't throw there. We won't throw this pitch. We'll do this. Well, they started doing it with Daniel Jones. Like, fine, I'll just run more. Oh, crap, now he runs.
Yeah.
Well, now we have to. He had enough tools to actually keep teams from locking him down on any one specific skill set. But $45 million, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, that's Aaron Rodgers type money that we even roll our eyes at, but probably deserves it at this point in his career. But no, I don't think $45 million. I would go Daniel Jones at 25. But Geno Smith has earned his money too.
He's older too.
And he is. He's earned his money too. But he should get $20 million for a couple to few years. There's no 7-year deal here. There's no guaranteed money like Deshaun Watson or like, Baltimore is being pounded with. Like Lamar Jackson wants all this guaranteed money like Deshaun Watson. Man, if they do that, if 2 quarterbacks get all this guaranteed money, it does change it because now they can just look at the owners of the Browns and go, they're idiots. They gave them all that money because they're idiots. But if 2 owners do that, now it's a real thing that every owner has to deal with. They're calling each other going, don't be giving all this guaranteed money. We have to stick together. Yeah, they're idiots in Cleveland, but we can't do that. What I would worry about is Dan Snyder in Washington, going to sell the team. He could really screw up that place before he leaves by giving somebody a bunch of guaranteed money that then he doesn't even have to pay.
Yeah, because he's scot-free.
And then just messing it up forever. I mean, he could set the league back.
He would do that.
With yeah, he would.
He's that type.
He would.
do that.
Next question.
Do you think there's any reality to the rumors of Justin Fields being traded before the draft?
I don't. I think it's hard to get a good quarterback. We see it. There just aren't enough. And they draft quarterbacks in the first round constantly that don't, first-round quarterbacks that don't make it. So when you finally have something that you can build a franchise around, and I think it's cute to think, well, we'll trade him, get some more picks. We got a few quarterbacks coming out in the draft. C.J. Stroud. You got Bryce Young. There's no guarantee any of those guys are going to be good in the NFL. I don't think any of them are can't miss. I don't think Will Levis at Kentucky's can't miss. And they're saying he's the number 2 guy out this year. Maybe number 1. Probably not number 1, but every once in a while you see somebody say that. Mm-hmm. I do not think they will trade him. No chance. No chance. And it's also posturing pre-draft, too. Don't forget that. Everybody's posturing pre-draft to figure out what pick they're going to get, what pick can they get, who can they get to fall, who can they lie about their character. The kid at Georgia, they're like, bad character guy. And so the story comes out last week, like, they say he's a bad character guy, but here's one of the truth is he paid for one of the walk-ons meals all year because walk-ons don't get their food paid for. So you want to talk about character and you say he's a bad character guy, let's at least have a little reflection here of what he was doing that nobody even knows about. Like there's a walk-on the team who was not able to be fed because that's the rules, and he paid for every single meal. So at least mention, hey, here's some good character too. But all this stuff is done by teams, so the stock of players will fall, and they can grab them. What else you got?
NBA here. Do you think Russell Westbrook chose the Clippers just to spite the Lakers?
I think Russell Westbrook didn't want to move out of his house.
Yeah, he stays right there.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's as much about Lakers. It's the same play. It's a different locker room in the same building. I think Russell Westbrook, I would have done the same thing. It's like if I were Lamar Jackson and I wasn't going to stay in Baltimore, maybe you go play for Washington. You may not have to move. That's a big deal. We forget that they do have real lives and they're real people with real houses, real friends, real families. They don't want to constantly get moved around. But also, if you live in LA, you probably don't want to move out of LA.
Yeah.
If you're Russell Westbrook. So I don't know if it's despite the Lakers, but it's probably because he didn't want to have to change his life. And also, he'll probably go and he'll be more of a factor over there with the Clips. And I think he'll actually help that team a little bit more. There was only so much he could do on a bad LA team that needed shooting. He's not a shooter. They have shooting with the Clips a little bit. So not that it's really going to help them. I saw their odds change none up or down, their Vegas odds whenever he went over. Because just the line moves a little bit, but it didn't move at all. It stayed the same, which was weird.
Clippers, Lakers, is that like a real rivalry? Like,
if they're both good, sure. But what's even a rivalry? Watch the All-Star game. They don't care.
That's true.
There are no rivals.
No.
What's the rival? Unless you just genuinely don't like somebody as a person, it doesn't even matter what team they're on. There's no rivals. Sometimes your rival plays on your same team. It's LeBron and Westbrook. So, but yeah, I do think they probably, when they're both good and competing, I do think they have their little moments.
Okay.
The Clippers are always disrespected when it comes to Clippers versus Lakers because the Lakers are the team.
I don't know any Clippers fans. I know Lakers fans.
I know Clippers fans.
You do?
Yeah, because they're like family and they have seats there, but they don't have Lakers seats. They have Clipper season tickets.
Oh, a lot cheaper.
And there's a Clippers. One of these actors.
Much cheaper.
Are they?
Much cheaper, yeah.
One of those actors is a big Clipper fan. Like he was a kid actor, like Frankie Muniz or something.
Racing a NASCAR driver now?
Malcolm in the middle?
I saw that.
What?
He's a NASCAR driver now.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he's trying to be a NASCAR driver.
Wow.
Mike, will you look at who the Clippers' famous fans are?
Billy Crystal is the first one that comes up.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that ain't what I'm talking about. I was talking about Jesse McCartney or Frankie Muniz or something. All right, next question.
As the NBA begins the second half of the season, do you think Jokic is the likely runaway MVP?
Well, the odds have him as the likely runaway MVP, and I think he probably wins it unless he gets hurt. He just does it all. He does it all, and they can't stop him. I mean, it's Larry Bird. The end. I mean, he's Larry Bird. He's big. He can shoot. He can. We don't even remember Larry Bird really because we're.
No.
I mean, he's before, especially Coleman was like not even spermy yet. So, but
His wife's right here, Bones.
well, she wasn't either.
Right, I know.
But like for us, I remember Larry Bird being old and doing the McDonald's commercials. All right, we'll bounce it off. One off the corner, nothing but net.
Oh, yeah, I remember
The
that.
Super Bowl commercials. All right, off the rim, off the cat, off the bleachers, nothing but net. And you remember him being 45 and playing for the Celtics and then coaching the Pacers.
Yeah.
But we didn't catch prime Bird. But Larry Bird, as much as we remember him as a shooter, he was 6'10". You got to remember Larry Bird was a big dude. And we don't remember him at 6'10" because we don't remember it. But also he was known so much as an outside shooter, passer, creator. Like now those are point guard guys, unless you're like Jokic, who's also a massive dude. He's Larry Bird.
Unathletic.
And
White
or
guy,
what you
yeah.
meant to say, white.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yes, he is, unless he gets hurt. He's going to win the thing, yeah.
Okay, going to NCAA here. How much would you trust Alabama in the tournament if they end up having to play without Brandon Miller?
So I was watching the game, 'cause we record this later on Thursday. I was watching the game last night, Alabama and South Carolina. South Carolina had a chance to win it. They were playing in South Carolina. Every time Brandon Miller would get the ball, the crowd would yell, lock him up. Lock
Crazy.
him.
I know.
Crazy. And so we can talk about the gun
He didn't
situation
care,
in a second.
though.
Hey, I saw him miss a couple free throws early, but dude went off. He scored the overtime, put him into the 40s. But South Carolina played tough. They're like gritty, headband, long-haired white dude fouled out at the end of the game, which hurt him because he was like, he also was like chunky, and I always admire like a chunky player.
Me too,
It
man.
just goes hard.
That doesn't get tired. Like,
I don't know, dude.
I think they do.
He looked pretty tired.
Yeah.
He looked pretty tired.
Yeah, I think they do.
But he was out of his mind. He did miss a 3 late. He could have won the game with a 3 late, but Brandon Miller was awesome. And I hate it, and I wish they would suspend him because we play him next. We play him Saturday.
Oh, that's why you want to
Oh, yeah,
suspend
for
it.
sure. All the
Got
Arkansas
it.
fans are just fighting like crazy online. Suspend him, legally. And we're like, bro, if we weren't playing them, you wouldn't give a crap. But he's amazing. If he wasn't with that team, I think they're probably a 4 or 5 seed. But he's the leader of that team. Nate Oates always has these really athletic, long teams, but they only shoot threes and they only shoot under the basket for the most part. And we'll talk to Joe Lunardi about it. He's such a game changer. They could win the whole thing if he's there. If not, I don't see that really happening. Coleman, what do you think? This is your expertise here.
I'm not a believer even if they have him in Bama winning a national title. I think they just have too many facets to what they do that don't lead to a national title team. No team has shot the 3 ball as much as they do outside of Villanova in recent history that's had success in winning a national title. We talked about it in a previous podcast, how little of an impact big-time freshmen have had on national championship winning teams since 2015. Bama very reliant on freshmen this year, and they play at a really fast tempo. Teams that play at that fast a tempo oftentimes create opportunities to give themselves a chance at getting upset throughout that 6-game run. I don't trust Bama even with him. Without him, I especially don't trust him.
Well, I've changed my mind. I said that too last game, but I watched them. Now I've seen them once. I'm like, yeah, I changed my mind. I've been a terrible juror. I watched one good game against a bad team, and I'm like, no, they can win it all, baby. So Coleman's answer is probably right, but since I just watched them, I was like, no, they're real good, man. Trust me. Okay, what else you got?
Last one here. With most of the talk coming out with the serious contenders in the Big 12 and the SEC, do you think Arizona and UCLA are being overlooked?
This is why I'm going to say yes, just because they're on the West Coast.
Yeah, we don't watch them.
They're being overlooked, probably not because of their talent or anybody going they suck. Overlooked as in not talked about equally because we just don't see them play. The football teams get anybody west because they just play way later. And it's not even that we're like, we don't like them because they're West. When your game doesn't come on until 9 or 10 or 11 Central or Eastern, the eyeballs that are writing these stories are just going to accidentally overlook them. So they're both very talented teams. But yes, of course they're overlooked. They're not getting the attention that they probably deserve, but it's because of where they live. Coleman?
Yeah, I think absolutely they're being overlooked. I think behind Houston, UCLA is my next favorite to win a national title. I love their balance. They've got a couple guys on their team that are veteran, that have been to a Final Four before, in Jaquez, in Tiger Campbell. I think that could be a team that makes a run to the Final Four, perhaps wins a national championship. That being on the West Coast is getting overlooked.
It's just a bad situation for players that want to be in prime time. It's tough to play. They'd have to play a 4:30 or 5 o'clock game for us to be able to watch it in prime time. And they ain't doing that. 7th period's barely over. You know what I mean? All right, that's it. Thank you.
The stupidest name ever is the Tittle Tattle with Kickoff Kevin.
Before we started this, Kevin walked in and goes, do you know about the Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat? And I said, well, what do you mean? I know about what he was doing. He goes, no, is it over?
It's over.
Is this like the groundhog comes out and we see the shadow and then we go, all right, more winter.
Well, that's the best part, too, on social media. Everyone's like, he's out of the darkness. And, like, there's pictures of him, like, walking out.
He's running into things.
He's out of the darkness. As of Wednesday, he was doing it in Southern Oregon. And this place is a partially underground Hobbit-like structure with 300 square feet of space, no light, with a queen bed, a bathroom, a meditation-like mat on the floor, fully powered. If you want to turn the lights on at any point, you can. And this place is booked up for the next 18 months.
Yeah, I hear you, but what happened? Did he come out and go?
I don't know. They just said he's out.
They should have a table out front when he walks out with all the hats on it.
Yep.
Jets, Packers,
Yep.
retirement. And then he does the thing where he's like, puts one on. I was like, nope, just kidding. And then he pulls out that. It says Jeopardy. And then he's going to go back and host. That's what he should do. But instead, we got to wait through the process and say, like, now, what the heck's going to happen? I would love for him to go to the Jets. It would be hilarious. Because Favre did it. First of all, that's funny to me. He's doing exactly what Favre did. He treated his backup quarterback exactly like Favre treated him. Like history's repeating itself. And then him to go to New York would just, it's the two things that love themselves so much. And it would create the perfect media storm, either for the Jets to win and he would be like a darling, or just like a Kyrie Brooklyn type situation where everything is going wrong and it's a disaster. I don't think it goes middle of the road if he goes to the Jets. I think he ends up staying with the Packers, honestly. I think he does it again and stays with the Packers. I would love for Carr to go to the Jets. I was looking again at these Carr stats. He had the worst defense, period, of any quarterback over his time there. When he's with the Raiders, he had literally the worst defense every year. And that sucks. I'd like for him to get a shot because I believe in him. I don't know why. He's gritty. He cries at press conference. That's all I need.
Yeah.
You cry at a press conference, I believe you can show up in practice and get it done. So I would like to see Carr with the Jets. Rodgers will probably stay with the Packers. I think Lamar stays in Baltimore. I don't know how you can't let him go.
No.
Unless you're just getting all the picks from somebody. But still, you can't, unless you're just not going to pay him and he only wants all this guaranteed money and you're going to be Dan Snyder and go, I'll give him guaranteed money. I'll give him $1 billion guaranteed. And then he sells the team the next day and somebody's on the hook for $1 billion.
He sells it to Lamar. There
and
you
he has
go.
no agent.
Yeah.
Yes. But we have nothing from Aaron Rodgers, no indication of what he's going to do.
No, that was it.
I don't like that you said, Kevin, that he can turn the lights on. How do we know that he had a
Exactly.
We don't.
He was watching Netflix the whole time. Like, dude,
Right.
that's not a retreat.
Hey, I'll be on a dark street all weekend, guys. Prove I'm not. Prove I'm not. The question is, we'll go around the room, your favorite athlete in sports right now. Not as a kid, but we could do both. Favorite athlete as a kid and your favorite athlete right now. And for me, that perspective changes because now I know professional athletes and some of them are just idiots and some of them are awesome, but they're just
So
like
true.
normal people. They're-
bros.
Yeah, they have more money, but they're just normal people. It's like artists that I know that are really famous. Some of them are awesome, some of them are idiots, but they're just normal in many, many ways. So, Eddie, you go first. Favorite athlete as a kid, favorite athlete right now.
Man, this is weird as a Cowboys fan just to say out loud. So as a kid, Joe Montana was my favorite. I mean, he was just cool. Like he would win, but he was always stress-free, and I love that about him. So when he retired, it was tough. That's when I went to the Cowboys and like became a Cowboys fan. And now it's crazy to say this, but Jalen Hurts is my current favorite athlete just because how he handles himself.
Yeah.
He's like, and again, Cowboys fan. Like, I'm not an Eagles fan. I hate the Eagles.
Well, you've picked the two teams that you should hate the most.
That's what I'm saying.
I
And
don't
that's
understand
with
this.
you.
And that's why I said it's
That would
weird
be
for me
like,
to say
okay,
this.
guys, my favorite's a Longhorn,
No, listen.
and my other favorite is Volunteer.
But what do we know about players? They don't care about the teams they play with. I mean, Hurts could go to the Cowboys for all, and he'll take it if that's the best
That's
for
just
him.
weird that you have identified a player on a team that you should hate.
I agree.
And that both of them are that too. Not even just
well,
one.
but Joe's done. Like Joe's done. That's old or whatever. But with Jalen, it's just weird the way he he's awesome. He's a great player, but he at the same time he doesn't let his mouth speak for him. His actions speak for him, and I love that about him. I wish we had more athletes like that, where it's like I don't have to say my way into this. Just watch me play, and that'll speak volumes.
Born leader, born winner.
I saw one of the receivers in Philly say, which one it was, like if he leaves, ship me out with him.
AJ Brown.
Was it AJ? Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He was like, if he goes, just send me with him. That's like you like that too with the quarterback, where other players are like, I'll run through a wall for him. Like that's the guy right there. That's pretty cool to see. So
Come on, wasn't it big of
also-
me to take teams that I'm
You
like?
can't compliment yourself on how big you are. You should just let us do
No one
that.
acknowledged me, but okay.
No, we acknowledged it was weird that both of them were rivals of your favorite team that you live and die with. That was the weirdness.
It is very weird to say it.
Coleman,
For
what do
me,
you got? Yeah.
For me as a kid, it's Russell Westbrook. I know he takes a whole lot of criticism.
Oklahoma, though, right?
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. But for me, like if I have a kid, I'm going to tell him that's how you conduct yourself. Doesn't matter if it's a preseason game against Sacramento Kings or the NBA championship. He is going 100% the entire game, and he's never been a guy that badmouths a teammate. Teammates always seem to have great things to say about him and let the media run with their own stories. So Russell Westbrook as a kid.
But what about now, Russell Westbrook?
Now I'm a little disappointed. I mean, we had to see this drop off coming, a guy that relied so much on his athletic ability. Now when that's gone, he doesn't quite have the fundamentals to be able to succeed. And then for a guy that has the mental approach that he does, you know he's going to continue to see himself as the guy or the dog. And so the end of his career is not going to look pretty. I mean, we may not even be at the ugliest part of it yet, but for what he meant to Oklahoma City and how he conducted himself, favorite as a kid for sure.
My wife loved Russ, too. We have in Russ We Trust sweaters and hoodies at the house because she's a big Thunder fan, and she's all in. She was all in. And I can't badmouth Russ at all in the house, even now. She's like, we don't talk bad about Russ now, even now.
Don't do it.
It's almost
Don't
like
do
rest
it.
in peace, but don't talk bad about him. And what about now?
Now I'd have to go with Justin Thomas. So as Russ has fallen off, Baker easily could have been one, but didn't quite have the success that I'd hoped for. Justin Thomas, I went to the PGA Championship this past year that he won, watching him live. That was sweet. But I feel like he's done a great job, kind of, not to say that he's this guy's level, but taking the torch from Tiger as to be the young guy to lead this generation of golfers, I guess, and expand and grow the game. And then he's just a ruthless competitor. I feel like he's the real Captain America. Patrick Reed got that after, a great performance.
Patrick Reed's hilarious, by the way. But yeah, go ahead.
But Justin Thomas, I believe, is the true Captain America.
You know, it's interesting. I don't feel, and you're like 60 years old picking a golfer as your favorite.
Yeah, it's so
Seriously.
interesting.
Yeah, which is wild. So aside from that, if you had to pick somebody that Tiger, quote unquote, passes the torch to, who would you say it was? Would you say it was Justin Thomas? I don't think I would.
No, I wouldn't.
I don't think I would. I think Rory,
Rory's
but he's
a
not
good one.
American, and you did say Captain America, and you only love
Right.
American people. Got it. John Rahm's not American.
No, he's
although
Spaniard.
he looks like he's American, with his gut hanging. He's like eats the processed foods like we do. Does that thing.
Spieth.
No, I'm not saying
uh,
passing the torch
okay.
in terms of a talent perspective, but in terms of being the face of the sport.
What about Justin? Well, yeah, or what?
Jordan
Yeah,
Spieth.
what about Jordan Spieth? Who I know Jordan a little bit, right?
Jordan Spieth, I love Jordan Spieth. I love the commentary that he has that we can almost like get into his and his caddy's thoughts
Michael.
and emotions. Yeah, we hear him talking throughout every single shot.
Oh yeah, Eddie thought he was
But-
Michael's best friend. We played around with.
What are you talking
Jordan.
about? Thought I am Michael's best
We
friend.
walked with Jordan and Michael. We played around with them.
You and Grell are tight.
Dude, we're so
Eddie
tight.
would forget my clubs, walk in with Michael, and I'm like, bro, he's carrying Jordan's. Why do you not have mine? You're.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I was talking to Michael. Okay, grab my clubs.
We're
You're my caddy.
trading dad stories, and Bobby's like, "Hey, sandwich." I'm like, "You got it. The bag's over there."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, Michael.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Spieth just hasn't been as consistent as JT. JT's been a top 10 player consistently now for the last 6 years. Spieth had that fall off, but no doubt he could be argued right up there with them.
Have y'all watched that show on Netflix?
Yep.
Swing It?
I haven't
Full
yet.
No, I
Full
haven't
swing.
yet.
Full
I
swing.
can't
Full
wait for this journey to end because that's the first thing I'm doing.
Hey, the first episode features Jordan and Justin, so their relationship, which is really cool.
They dated.
Yeah, well, I guess so in a weird way.
I haven't watched. I want to. There's also the show coming out that they just announced that Peyton Manning's production company finished. That's like the quarterbacks on Netflix, where Mahomes
Yeah.
and all those guys are mic'd the whole season. And we didn't know it.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins
Yeah.
and Mariota.
Sweet too.
They were wow.
That's gonna be good.
They were, and that's good too because you got Mahomes who won it, Cousins who played better than normal and they choked it, and then Mariota who kind of flashed early, but didn't have a great season overall. Right? Wouldn't you say? Like he's not going to have a job next year, guaranteed. So we're not watching three quarterbacks win the whole thing or get deep in the playoffs. It's like three different journeys of three different players.
That's cool.
That'll be great.
And so that's cool too. My favorite athlete as a kid was Mark Grace, first baseman for the Cubs. I played first base. I was left-handed. He was number 17. Was not a power hitter. Neither was I. He would get on base a lot. I was like, that's my guy. Everything about him. Mark Grace. And why I brought this up is I think my favorite athlete as an adult is Pat Bev.
Wow.
Because for a couple reasons. He just doesn't stop. When you talk about tenacity, he's a guy that you want on your team, but if he's on our team, you hate his guts.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the dude that I feel like he would have everybody's back. If he's in the locker room with you, even if he may not get along with you right then, if something happens out on the court, like, he's got you. Like, I would hear him defending Westbrook, even with the Lakers. He was like, that's my dude. Somebody's going to get into it with him. We're going to go right there. But, like, Pat Bev always goes hard. And he's playing with the Bulls now, which will be interesting to see. He's going back home. That's where he's from, Chicago. I just admire tenacity. And also, he did play at Arkansas. I don't know if that affects anything.
Just a little
Just
bit.
a little bit.
Just a little bit, probably.
Being a Russell Westbrook guy, I didn't like the knee injury that your guy caused. My
I think
guy.
Now he's having a little fight.
I don't own him.
You all should fight it out.
It's not- I didn't like.
You guys should
He's not my
totally battle
fantasy
it.
player that I've drafted or anything. So shut up. Emily, what about you? Were you an athlete?
Not at all.
Huh.
I have a favorite like athlete adjacent. I have a weird obsession with Jim Nance. Like his voice is like my favorite.
I met him.
Really?
Eddie and I
Just
both
met
did.
him.
Yeah, he was so nice.
I love him.
He called. We were playing at Pebble Beach, and they did a thing on TV, and they were like, "Okay, up next, Bobby Bones." And I get up, and I was in the group with Aaron. I beat Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you did. You can always
Hi.
say that.
I did in the group, but Jim Nance called the shots, and he's like, "Up next, host of Snake in the Grass," and all right, there it is. 11 feet 11 inches. So he called
That's
it. It was
my
so
dream.
cool. Yeah, it was so cool.
And it's crazy to say, like, obviously he talks like that in normal life, but he really does. When he's just talking to you, he's like, so are you having fun? Did you eat the chicken today? It's pretty good.
Looks like Eddie's walking over toward me right now. So was that yours now or as a kid?
Just like always.
Always.
I don't really have one now, I guess. I just keep up with the Thunder.
Okay, and who's your
Yeah.
favorite Thunder player?
Shay. Or what's the other guy?
Jalen Williams, the
No,
new
the
one?
one that looks like Timothy Chalamet.
Josh Giddey.
Oh, Josh
Josh
Giddey.
Giddey.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
funny.
That's
He's
a
like a
good one.
tall Timothy Chalamet. Yeah.
They call him Himothy. Like
Yeah.
him.
That's good. He's cute. That's what she's
Cute.
Hey, I think we found out why
When
she's
I'm
not gonna
gone,
be away.
I'll come see. Guys like Josh and Jim have been popping up on their phone.
You serious?
Australian, like 13 numbers long. It's like an Australian area code. Okay, so we're gonna go to Joe Lunardi here. Joe Lunardi's? I mean, he's that guy for sure. Joe Lunardi is the guy who created Bracketology, who has nailed it. If we'd had more time, I would have been like, seriously, somebody's like tipping you off on stuff occasionally too, right? Because he's got to have so many resources, not illegally, but somebody's got to be calling and being like, I feel like in the room, this is happening. And now people like, Coleman exist, and Coleman's trying this whole new thing. But if Lunardi's not there creating this industry, people like Coleman probably aren't driving all over the country in mid-majors going, I'm going to find my niche inside of this niche. Would you agree with that? Is that fair?
No, absolutely. When I originally started the Twitter that I have now, it was a Bracketology Twitter. Joe was posting like once every 4 days or something like that. That wasn't enough for me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try and be a bracketologist myself. So Joe definitely inspired the journey for sure.
It's like guys, for me, that would be like Howard Stern, Rush Limbaugh. Although I'm not like them, they did things on television and radio. And so had they not kicked in doors, I wouldn't have been able to go, I want to do that too. I want to do a little different. But like, respect, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's
Absolutely.
it. So Joe Lunardi, ESPN bracketologist. We're talking to him now. Joe Lunardi on. Hey, Joe.
Hi, Bobby.
Good to talk to you. Is it weird being famous now? Because, I mean, your name is as famous as anybody in sports media. This is such a, you've cornered this market. Is it weird to be Joe Lunardi, parentheses, famous guy?
Only for these 2 or 3 weeks a year.
You say that, but
I feel like
Joe,
I feel like I'm living kind of an out-of-body experience for about a month.
I watch your brackets all, like, the first week of the season in, like, November, right? And I'm a big Arkansas guy, but we're playing, like, practice games. And it's like, here's Lunardi's bracket. And I'm like, Joe's working, like, full-time now. This is not even, like, getting close to the tournament. He's going hard all the time. So do people recognize you at the airport now? I'm like, there's Joe Lunardi.
Yeah, I can tell people are staring a little bit from time to time, but it's more seasonal than anything else. I keep a pretty low profile in the off season.
I don't know. I wouldn't be cool.
I mean, you probably get it a lot more than I would.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be cool if I saw you. I would geek. I literally would be nervous to talk to you because to me, we're in a fractured fame world where everybody's, just because you're famous to somebody doesn't mean you're famous to somebody else. But I would see you in an airport and go like, I can never go up and talk to Joe Lunardi because I'm a massive fan of what he does. So I'm just going to let him be. I would be intimidated by you because of how much I respect your work. Is that weird to hear that would happen?
Only the part about not coming up to say hi. Like I have no issue with that. Like if somebody kind of gives me a look sometimes, especially if it's like a high school kid or youngster, like I'll almost just put my hand out and shake their hand and say, hey, I'm Joe. And if they're obviously a college basketball person, I'll say like, who's your squad? And that's an easy way to start a conversation.
Yeah, please do that to me if you ever see me because I'll be too intimidated because I want to bother the big famous Joe Lunardi. But if you see me, say, hey, I'm Joe, who's your squad? And then we'll ride off and running, Joe. Me and you, buddies for life.
There you go.
Okay, Joe, where did it start for you? Back in the day, like when you first started to go, I want to do this job, were you a writer at a small newspaper or something like that?
I did do a lot of sports writing in and around Philadelphia. It's kind of a great college basketball city because there's 6 Division I schools. And generally in any given season, there's a couple, 3 of them that are in the national picture. So, the tournament is pretty much an annual event. I can't say that during those years of being a sports writer, I ever said to myself, man, I want to work at ESPN someday and I want to be a bracketologist because frankly, when I started, there was no ESPN and there definitely wasn't bracketology, much less the internet as a way to kind of convey all this and generate a following and, maybe kind of create something from nothing, Bobby. Like I'd like to say there was this grand business plan, but there wasn't. And it just evolved into something that's fueled by the passion, frankly, of people like you. Like, do a lot of people know that you're a college basketball junkie?
Probably not.
And right. But I've found that they're out there and, the people from all walks of life, because it's kind of a unique sport in that way, right? Like, pro sports are kind of dominated by the big cities, but everybody has a team because everybody went to school somewhere.
Yeah.
And, it could be the biggest city in America, UCLA, or it could be a small college town making a run and being a Cinderella. And I think in a way that's why the NCAA tournament is unique in that it's so inclusive geographically and all kinds of people.
No, I do want to get down to brass tacks in a second, but I'm just interested in your story so much. And I have friends who are in the creative space and, they had to work, we'll call it a real job, until they got to the point where they could quit their real job to do their passion. So you spent 30 years, or close to 30 years at St. Joe's. You had a real job in communications and marketing. A real job isn't like you go, you show up, you do the work, and then you go home. But at what point did you go, man, this crazy idea, I can actually make my full living. I'm going to quit my real job and do the dream job, because that's a huge step. When did you do that, and were you nervous about doing it, or did you feel set?
I didn't really ever quit my real job. I just, in a way, maybe just kind of rose out of it over time. When our youngest finished college, it became a point where I didn't have to be a 9-to-5 administrator or a VP in higher ed anymore. And yeah, I'd always thought to myself, what would happen, or what could happen with basketball if I didn't have a day job? But I loved my day job. And it was my school. I met my wife there. One of our children went to St. Joe's, and it just, you just kind of wake up one morning and go, man, economically, I wasn't sure I had to do that anymore. So it was a little bit of a risk. But in retrospect, maybe I should have made the jump sooner, because I'm having a ball now.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything that I've worked for, right? It's, we work so hard to have a shot at our dream, and then once we get it, it's like, man, like, it can actually be done. I never thought it could be done until I was able to like grind myself into it, and like, I hope to be somebody that people can look at and go, well, if he can do it, then I can do it. But like, you created this whole new space, and like, I really like admire that, and the fact that this wasn't happening until freaking Joe Lunardi did it. And he was doing it a long time before it really popped. When did it pop for you, where it went to the next level, where you're like, holy crap, what I'm doing is so loved by people, and I didn't expect it to be this big?
Well, there were a couple of inflection points. Certainly when Bracketology got its own space and page and real estate on ESPN.com. I have been doing it for a few years. Before, frankly, sports websites had evolved very much. They were pretty much HTML and ugly. And then in 2002, somebody got the idea to give it its own kind of space and platform within college basketball at ESPN, and it launched on a Monday night in January. I'll never forget, because I went from Philly up to Bristol, to be there and help out. And I mean, the traffic in the first hour or two, the editors and we just kind of looked at each other and went, oh, we found something here. And, I'm not very good at the business of business, or I suppose I would have asked right then to, get paid by the hit or something like that. But clearly there was an audience, and it coincided with a time when, frankly, the people who actually picked the tournament, the NCAA Men's Basketball Committee, was not very open about what they did or how they did it. So there was, if you're a fan of, I don't know, Arkansas or Boise State or Minnesota or Connecticut, you're going with what you get out of the local paper, or maybe a paragraph every once in a while in USA Today, like back when we had newspapers, and they'd be outside your hotel room during the morning. And here I was kind of letting people into something that they were incredibly interested in, but no one would have had a way of knowing that. So the combination of digital media and the internet, and to ESPN's credit, look, I'm 5'5" and slow on a good day. and like, I can't touch the rim. I can barely coach a CYO team. And, the typical model of sports experts on television is former coach, former player, right? Big name, somebody with a built-in following. And here I am, just the kind of a nobody higher ed person from Philadelphia who happens to like college basketball a lot. And to ESPN's credit, they were about the content, not about, how I looked or how I sounded or the fact that my resume wouldn't have gotten me interviewed for an assistant coaching position at a middle school. And then, being reasonably accurate certainly helped over time, but I never took it very seriously, probably for another 10 or 15 years after that, because it was more of a hobby than it was an avocation.
Yeah, I just love
or
the
a
story.
vocation, I should say.
One final question about just your story, and we won't get to basketball, but I'm so interested in Joe the person, because this is like he's a revolution. I mean, he is. He started something, and I know it sounds dramatic, but it's the truth. And how I've done things. I've been in, I wouldn't say trouble, but it was difficult for me because in the spaces that I've been in, I've been very different, which people did not like. The old guard did not like. Did you get any pushback when you were revealing things from people who were working inside of maybe schools or the NCAA? Like, hey, you shouldn't share that, Joe.
I think it probably took a little while to gain some credibility in the NCAA and athletic administrative world, because most people that come into something like this have a bias toward their school, toward their region, toward their point of view, whatever it might be. And I was only interested in learning and getting it right. I have favorite schools and favorite coaches and favorite players, just like anybody else. But, at the end of the day, I get judged on how well I can predict what those 10 and now 12 people on the committee are going to do. It doesn't really matter if I think Alabama is better than Houston or better than Kansas or better than Purdue. It matters what they think and how much and how well do I understand their process to replicate it. Coaches and administrators call me all the time asking for insight, and I have to remind them, I don't have a vote. I'm never going to have a vote. I'm like an election pundit. I look at the polls, I look at the numbers, I observe and forecast. But I'm fortunate to have been the first to do it. So I have the largest platform, I suppose, but many, many, many other people are doing it now and doing it quite well, and maybe understand the math better than I ever will. But my communications background, I think, allows me to convey it in a way that hopefully makes it watchable.
Yeah. Well, we have
and readable.
5 minutes for basketball questions. I would just do the whole talk about Joe's life, honestly. But
been good.
Our listeners are going to know.
Well, you're the one who's interested in it, so I appreciate that.
Well, we could do an hour about you, Joe. Basketball wise, I watched the Alabama South Carolina game last night, and I watched Brandon Miller just go off, scoring 40 points. It went into overtime. And I'm amazed to watch this kid. He's a freshman, but he's also in all this trouble. Not trouble. All of this stuff is coming out about the gun. So not asking about that situation, but if he is not on the team and Alabama is a clear number one right now, does that affect the seeding? I do too. Does that affect the seeding without him? Even let's say they don't lose a game, but he is not able to play in the tournament. Would they drop him? The Tide?
Probably. And I say probably because we don't know when he would go out, and would there be an opportunity for the committee to observe them without him? This actually happened once. In I want to say it was 2000, the 1999-2000 season. The number one team in the country was Cincinnati. The player of the year was Kenyon Martin. And in their first conference tournament game, as the presumptive number one team and top seed, he broke his leg. And he was out. I mean, obviously, you're not coming back and playing a week later, right? And, what do you do at that point? You're guessing at what that team is going to be like. They ended up getting a 2 seed, Cincinnati, and they lost in the second round, I think, to whoever the 7 was. Something in me wants to say Tulsa, but I'm not 100% sure of that. And, that was kind of an experiment in how to observe what the committee would do. Like, that was they had no way of logically approaching that.
Yeah.
But they couldn't make them number 1 overall just on common sense, because then they're giving a disadvantage to some other teams who might have been legitimately better at that point. I think in Alabama's case, well, first of all, I don't think he's going to miss any games. The university, I'm putting my higher ed hat on, the university's made it very clear what their position is. And I think barring a significant change in evidence, it's not going to change. And we could have another whole show on whether that's right or wrong.
Sure.
I'm just saying Brandon Miller playing in the tournament and this situation being talked about for another month is pretty much a guarantee.
North Carolina, Kentucky, because we have like 3 minutes left before I know you got to go. But North Carolina, Kentucky, North Carolina needs to probably make a run. I've never seen anything like it, what's happened to them this season versus last season and the expectation. And then also Kentucky, who and they're playing a little better now, but both of those teams, what do they need to do to get in?
I think Kentucky's reasonably safe at this point. They swept Tennessee. I'm not a big eye test guy. I'm more of a data results guy. But it's pretty clear that they figured out a better way to play, and it involves, keeping the ball in the hands more often of their better players, which seems kind of basic and intuitive. But they're probably going to keep rising a little bit. They're not going to meet the preseason expectations in terms of seeding, but they're going to be wearing white in their first game. I'm pretty convinced of that. As for North Carolina, without being there every day, like, clearly they're a mess in something that's not basketball related.
Mm-hmm.
And we may never know what that is. I mean, this is a team, Bobby, like, they have 4 starters back in an age where that doesn't happen much. And those players had a 16-point halftime lead in the national championship game. And, Brady Manick was a really good player, and he's not there. But they can't make a shot. And they made enough shots to be in the national championship game. So, something is not right. And I don't think they're going to make it, because I just don't think they're good enough. And their body language tells me that they don't really care enough about being in it.
Right. Joe Lunardi, we have
they won last night, but
yeah, the Notre Dame game. But
it weren't good.
It was sloppy and it did not. And they beat a bad Notre Dame team too. It was not good at all. And I watched going, maybe they're going to play so much better. Maybe they know now. And it just was like a group of guys that they were just a little better, and they won the game, and it was over.
Like, Kentucky found a gear.
Yeah.
Because they were on the outs a couple weeks ago. Carolina, maybe they do find the gear. I'm just not seeing it.
All right, 1 minute left here. And this is not a biased question, except it's extremely biased. Arkansas has Nick Smith finally back. Listen, we lost 2 starters. Nick Smith is finally back. Lottery pick. He scored 25, a little more than 25 against Georgia. Will that affect the seeding at all if Arkansas does get in, which I hope and think they will? But now that their best player is back, will it give them a lift with the committee, or are they just like, you are who you are?
I think it's going to be more the latter. I could see maybe a seed line improvement from seeding, but I'll give you the flip of that, Bobby, which is they're going to get a seed that they're probably better than and able to outperform. So it's not so much an Arkansas situation as it is, who do they play? And those opponents are going to be getting probably a much tougher draw, because, Arkansas has 2 seed, 3 seed talent, I think, when they really have it together, and they've proven their ability to win in March. I think they're very dangerous.
All right, we have to let Joe go. Here's the thing, Joe. I'm filling in for Rich Eisen next week on Rich's show, and hopefully I can get you on over there, and we'll go straight basketball. I'm just such a big fan. And you guys follow Joe, ESPN Lunardi. Donate to his GoFundMe. I don't even know if he has one, but if he does, send him some money. He doesn't.
I don't. But if you want to do Coaches versus Cancer, that would be my
boom.
Oh, that's cool.
There we go. All right, Joe Lunardi. Joe, we got to clap for you because you're the guy. We appreciate you, and we will hopefully see you soon,
gang.
Joe. See you, buddy. All right, that was Joe Lunardi. It's awesome. I wish we'd had more time, but I'm grateful for like Dr. Seuss said. Don't be sad because it's over. Be happy because it happened, or some crap like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, not verbatim.
Do you know, Emily, what he said? What Dr. Seuss said about that?
I don't know what he said.
Smile because it happened?
Coleman, did I ask you? Did I ask
You
your
did not.
wife?
You asked my wife.
I asked your wife. Is this what happens at the house? I wouldn't want him home either.
Yeah, I don't listen well.
Yeah. I would be like, you need to go to Winchester U for a couple days and watch their third string. I get it. I didn't get it, Emily, but now I get it. Yeah. So thanks to Joe for coming on. That's pretty cool. I want to talk about this Rich Eisen thing in a second because I'll be filling in for Rich Eisen next week, which I'm super excited about. And I'll get to that in my final thought here. But I'll be doing a series on TikTok called Old People in Sports Who You Didn't Know Were Really Cool.
Ooh, that's cool.
Because there's so many awesome. We talked about Larry Bird earlier, right? If we don't see a bunch of old clips of him dominating, we have no idea really how good he was, or TV shows, or like, we depend on that. We depend on content to remind us at how good some of these old folks were. So I have all these people that I'm going to do on my TikTok, which is Mr. Bobby Bones. But I'm going to start with Pistol Pete, which just listen to the few notes. And if you've seen the Pistol Pete movie back in the day, or if you've seen clips, I don't think people can fully appreciate how good Pete Maravich was for a bunch of reasons. But, I mean, he was Showtime before the Lakers. He was doing no-look passes. The ball handling that would be advanced today, he was doing then. But think about how advanced it was then. He was a great shooter. If they would have had the three-point line, they didn't have the three-point line. He's popping them from three when there was no three. He averaged 44 points a game at LSU with no three-point line. 44 points a game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Without you're talking about 55 a game probably if there's a three-point line.
Can't even fathom that.
It's insane.
It's so wild. His number has been retired. And here's the thing. People go like, well, he was a failure in the NBA. His number's been retired by 3 different NBA teams: the Hawks, the Jazz, and the Pelicans. The NBA did not even put in the three-point line until his final season in the NBA. And so he averaged, I think, 20 or so in the NBA before his knees gave out, but with no three-point line. He was just so ahead of his time. So what I'll be doing is a series and showing videos. And the Pistol Pete thing, I just get angry, even at myself, for not giving him the respect he deserves.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so stupid. Why do I not love Pete more? It's because I haven't been educated properly. So I'm doing a series soon called Old People. I don't really have the name yet.
Still working on it.
It's something about old people in sports.
Work in progress.
I don't know if this will be in your series, but this was a little tidbit I got. So people on Twitter, some have been joining me for games. So I got joined by this North Carolina kid that he's a diehard NC State
people
fan.
are just like, you're like fish or... Like
yeah, they'll just DM me, be like, hey, I'm going to that game.
He has
Mind if I
fans.
sit
No,
with you?
they're following you around the country.
Dang, dude.
Deadheads, like Grateful Dead.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So
Coleman Crew.
He tells me
There we go.
that Pete was supposed to go to NC State, didn't make the ACT score high enough, so then he went to LSU. Could have been an NC State player.
Put that in your TikTok.
Dang.
There you
That
go.
won't make it a failure.
No.
I'm like, no, I'm trying to show people why he's awesome. So that'll be coming up. I do want to go over to this interview with Coach Dana Ford from Missouri State. Was your first question, because I haven't heard this yet, is it tough being a dude named Dana? That's what I'd have led with.
I didn't ask him that. I didn't want to start off on the
Or
wrong
did you
foot.
get in a bunch of fights as a kid because your name was Dana? You ever heard
Maybe
the
it made
song
him
Boy
tough.
Named Sue? Like he named him
Yeah.
Sue because dad named him Sue because he left and he wanted him to have to learn how to be tough as a kid because he wasn't going to be there. And I've been like, Coach Dana Ford, did your dad leave you when you were a kid? No? I'm out of questions about this. All right, anyway, basketball. What was he like as a guy?
Man, he was awesome to meet with. Just a very respectable dude. Has an incredible foundation called the Rebound Foundation. He and his wife started where they take homes that had domestic violence, the female they help support for the next 6 months to a year, try to find a job, find living, things
Dang.
like that.
Awesome.
So he seemed like an incredible dude in my time with him.
And you got to be tough. Listen, I have a chick name. It's like half chick. I meet more Bobbies that are girls than I do boys.
Really?
I didn't realize that.
Who's Bobby as a man?
Bobby McFerrin.
But you don't know him.
Don't worry, be
Don't
happy.
worry, be happy. You ever met him?
No.
Yeah. How many Bobbies have you met that aren't me? That's a man.
My dad had a friend named Bobby.
How'd that go?
I mean, I think they're still friends.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was cool.
Cool. One. You ever met a Bobby girl?
No.
Emily,
no.
ever met a Bobby girl?
Whitney Houston's daughter, right?
Well, yeah. You meet her?
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's the only one I know.
Anyway,
Not great listeners.
I'd be like, Dana, Coach Ford, that's awesome. You got that girl's name. Like, why? Like, who are you named after? And like, you're a lot tougher because of it, probably. And I'll be like, and I'm only half tough because my name's only half chick. So here he is. This is Coleman with Coach Dana Ford doing it big at Missouri State.
Coach Dana Ford, head basketball coach of Missouri State. Coach Ford, I just wanted to ask you, growing up, great high school basketball player, played college basketball at Illinois State. What pushed you to pursue basketball and then coaching after your playing career?
Well, I grew up in a small town in southern Illinois, and basketball was king, and that's really the only thing that we had to do. And fell in love with the game at a young age. Was fortunate enough to play in college, and after college, I had a decision to make. And I've been impacted by coaches my entire life. My high school coach, Chuck Doty, my college coaches, Tom Richardson, Porter Moser.
Mm-hmm.
And so, fortunately, I chose that path, and it's been a great experience.
I'm OU alum, so I got to hear Coach Moser speak before the season this year. His energy is just contagious. What is something that you learned from Coach Moser in your playing career that you implement with your current teams today?
Well, I learned a lot from him, and he's got a tremendous basketball mind. Just the importance of body language, the importance of habits, the importance of commitment, attention to detail. There are so many things that we try to implement in our program right now on a daily basis as well.
What was it like before you're even 30 years old, getting offered a head Division I coaching job, being the youngest coach in college basketball?
It was a very humbling experience. It was unique. 28 years old, head coach, something that you dream about. Not necessarily doing it by that age, but you feel like one day you can run your program. And Teresa Phillips, athletic director at Tennessee State at the time, believed in me, and so very appreciative for that. And just every day of my life, I'm thankful to be a college basketball coach.
Take me through the lows, I guess, of your first season, 5 wins, to then the highs of your very next year, quadrupling that, getting 20 wins at a program that had only had a winning season 2 times in the last 19 years.
The first year was tough. We took over a program, and we basically had to bring in 12 new players, and that was not an easy task, but it was something that had to be done. And it was sort of a blessing in disguise because we had a chance to implement our culture from day one, because all the players were guys that we had brought in, and the one returner was a guy that I had signed when I was an assistant coach there. And so that was fortunate, and that helped us. The following year, our culture was in place. We just need to add a few more bodies, or a few more guys that could do some things. And our kids played really hard, great kids, and won a lot of close games, and ultimately ended up with a 20-win season.
When you're an assistant at Wichita State, you land Fred VanVleet. When you're at Tennessee State as a head, you land Robert Covington. How were you able to find those diamonds in the rough, and then what is it like seeing their success in the NBA?
I'm just a blessed man. I mean, I like to say that it's something else, but it's just the Lord lead me to the right places at the right times, to be honest. Both of those guys are coach's dream, high-character kids, tough, underachievers, play with the chip on their shoulder, and become overachievers, it's exciting to see those guys have success because they're following their dreams. And I use those guys as examples to our players every single day, that you can obtain your dreams no matter where you go.
Right. Last year, 23 wins here at Missouri State, most wins in the program in the last 11 years. What did that mean for you personally and then for this program?
Well, just personally, I was happy for our players. We had a couple guys that had stuck together for a few years. And, we had a big kid, Gage Prim, that could have transferred and went anywhere in the country, but stuck with us. And then we had a dynamic guard, Isaiah Mosley, probably the same scenario. But and then we had a host of high character guys play around them. Javonte Black, Lukai Patterson, Isaac Haney, Keaton Hervey, Donnie Clay. I mean, so we had a nice mixture of guys. And so just personally, I was just happy for the players.
This year, replacing essentially your entire roster, nearly Donovan Clay, the only guy averaging over 2 points a game returning. What was that challenge like, and how are you able to get chemistry to gel so quickly?
Yeah, it wasn't an ideal situation, but we had to play the hand of cards that we were dealt, and it was challenging because that's a lot of phone calls, it's a lot of official visits, it's a lot of background check, character check, and I give credit to our staff. They did a great job, and we've assembled a group of guys that have the potential to develop into a really good team. This year has been up and down due to a lot of different reasons, but I think most importantly, just struggling with the level of consistency you need to be good every day. But I think that comes with age, and I have a lot of fun coaching this group, very fun group. So looking forward to see how they can develop over the next couple of years.
How integral has Donovan Clay played in being able to carry that identity, the culture that you've established in previous years, to this team with so many newcomers?
He's played a big part in that, and just having an understanding of what we like to do in regards to how we like to operate, having a voice in the locker room, especially dealing with so many first-year Division I players. I think that's very important. And Donnie wants to win first and foremost, and I think that throughout the course of this year has helped bring along some guys a little quicker than what we imagined.
You've been able to bring in 3 Power 6 transfers along with 2 guys that played for NCAA tournament teams at mid-majors a year ago. What are your thoughts just in general on the transfer portal? Clearly you're able to utilize it for your success.
I think it's some positives and some negatives. With our situation of signing so many players, we felt that it was necessary to tap into it a little bit. Each year is a different challenge. Each team needs a different type of player, but it's good to have that option if you need it, and then it's good for the players to have the option if they're using it for the right reasons. But that's like anything, and so my thoughts on the portal is it's here to stay, and I think the best advice is to figure out how to utilize it in order to help your program.
The previous 3 years, you all had been about middle of the pack in the country in tempo. This year, 355th out of 363. What has been the reasoning for that concerted effort to play a slower style?
Well, we struggle taking care of the ball, and when we play really, really fast, we turn the ball over, and the other team gets it and lays it in or gets an open shot. So until we can mature and develop our skill to where we can take care of the ball, and it's best that we take our time and at least get a shot at the rim.
Right, that makes sense. Do you feel like your team is peaking at the right time as we head towards March and Arch Madness?
Well, prior to our last 2 games, I felt like we were starting to play really, really a lot better. Our last 2 games, we haven't necessarily started one game very well and then finished another game very well. But I do think in between we're doing some good things. What I like about our group is they're high character, they keep working, they're a lot of fun, and I do think that they can get hot and beat anybody, and we've proven that. We've got, I want to say, 4 wins against the top 5 teams in our league, and that's not easy to do.
Right.
So we'll continue to work at it and hopefully play our best basketball a week from now.
Right. To that point, you all have already swept Drake. What kind of confidence does that give your guys in the locker room that, hey, we can play with anybody in this conference, we just have to be playing our best basketball come early March?
I think it gives the guys a lot of confidence. Drake's a really good team, a program we have a lot of respect for. They're obviously one of the best mid-major, if not one of the best programs in the country this year. And so just being able to draw back from those experiences throughout the year should help us, and not only help us this year, but help us in the years to come.
I've got a bit of a tough question for you. I noticed through your career you had 6 conference tournament losses by 1 possession or less. What is the lows of that like to end your season when you're so close to surviving and advancing? And then conversely, does that fuel your fire even more to bring home a conference championship?
It's a great question, and I think it does. I think those hardships that we've dealt with have fueled us to continue to keep going and looking for our opportunity to eventually break through one day. I didn't quite know it was that many. But,
Sorry, Coach.
That's okay. I'll remember it.
Yeah. I wanted to give you a chance, if you'd like to speak on your faith and what that's done for you within coaching and impacting young people's lives as a coach.
Yeah, it's been really important to me, and it's developed over time. My wife, Christina, has really helped me. It's something that I hold near and dear to my heart. I take very serious. no one's perfect, but I think that's the beauty of your faith is having someone to lean on and carry you and just be there for you, especially in tough times, And so we've all got to spend eternity somewhere. And
Yes, sir.
I'd like to spend mine in paradise.
Yes, sir. Last question for you. I'd like to give you a second to speak on your foundation, what that is, and what I guess inspired you to start that.
So the Rebound Foundation was started by my wife Christina and I, and both being from families where domestic violence has a nasty history. And after the birth of our daughter Charlie Rose 8 years ago, we felt like we needed to be able to reach out and help our community that she was growing up in some way. And so we started the Rebound Foundation, and we provide transitional housing for women and children that leave a shelter. And we do that for 6 months to a year. We pay their bills, we buy their groceries. We give them everything they need to rebuild their lives. And job placement, financial literacy, and we just try to give people a second chance. It's no different in basketball. You miss your first shot, get the rebound, and hopefully get another shot.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Coach. Wishing you and your team best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, thanks to Coach Ford for that. That was awesome. Actually, I haven't heard it yet. I just recorded the in and out of that interview, and I'll listen to it later. But I'm sure it was awesome.
It was.
All right, let's do final thoughts. Mike, you want to do final thoughts?
Yep.
I got to go over to the NHL team, the Preds, and do a shoot. It was supposed to happen in 40 minutes, but instead it's in 10.
Where are you going to play for him? What are you doing?
Well, I don't want to really spoil it. I got drafted. Play for the Preds.
At age 42?
Mm-hmm. Around the room, Eddie, final thought.
So I was given homework to watch the slam dunk contest, and I did. Dude.
Wasn't McClung awesome?
Mac McClung was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how, and Mac's great. I don't know how he plays. Like, how's he doing in the NBA? Is he good? Because he looks like he could be good.
And Coleman can speak on this after I mess it up. He is a nightmare to have out there defensively. It's tough. It's tough for him to guard these guys right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
a little struggle bus.
I mean, look at him. He's a small guy.
Yeah.
He can jump. I just think defensively right now he ain't there. And I think that's what's tough. What do you think about that answer?
No, I agree completely. Yeah. Small guard to play the 2. He's not really a 1,
Okay. Well, I mean, he dominated that dunk contest, but I don't understand too how they judge it. Like, to me, I'm like
this.
These were
That's
all
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like every single one except Jericho Sims, like doing the whole the hanging on his
Nobody
elbows.
even moved. Did you see that? Like, none of the other players
Yeah,
even
that was
reacted
tough.
when he did it. They were like, okay.
And then afterwards he'd grab his elbow like, ow, that hurt. Well, no,
Yeah, well, don't
crap.
stick in the rim like that.
Of course
Exactly.
it hurts.
Yes, of course.
But it was awesome. Thanks for the homework, dude. I enjoyed watching that.
Kevin.
Beginning of the football season, we came up with the great name. Of course, Coleman wasn't here, but Kickoff Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking the other day, I was like, well, do I need to change it for basketball?
You
or
can't.
no?
You can't change it. You are who you are.
But Tip-Off Kevin sounds pretty dang good, too.
But there's no alliteration.
Tip
All
off,
right,
Kevin.
I'm just
And
saying.
we're only doing this basketball for 6 weeks. And football is like a 4-month thing. So,
Bones, I like tip off, Kevin.
then you should be tip off Tevin.
There you go.
It's like we chop part of our tongue off. Now tip off Tevin.
It's like Mike Tyson.
It's how I feel when I bite my tongue. Okay, tip off Heaven. Rub. Coleman.
Okay.
My final thoughts. I think Russell Westbrook in his prime, talking about my former favorite player, was a poor man's LeBron James, and you could have won an NBA championship around him. He never had a team set around his skill set. Had terrible shooters and was still leading the league in assists with guys like Andre Robertson standing there in the corner.
But what about when, like, we'll go to the OKC days when Harden was coming off as a 6-man, Durant, obviously. Like, that was a pretty good team, but you're saying because it wasn't built around him?
Look at what LeBron's always had. He's always had a great big that he can use in the pick and pop or pick and roll. A Bosh, a Anthony Davis, a Kevin Love. Russell Westbrook has never had that guy. He made Steven Adams look like he had offensive ability.
It just feels like blasphemy comparing him to LeBron. It
Poor
is.
man's, with the
Like,
utmost respect.
poor
to
as
both.
in, like, third world country.
Like nothing.
I mean,
no
now
running water.
We want to give Jokic all this praise for
But
averaging
Jokic
a triple-double. And Russell Westbrook, the movie was trying to knock him.
But Westbrook's like
For being a stat packer.
Oh, he's a stat packer. Whatever, I'm not
Bones,
going to fight
it's
you.
could've won
his
a
own
championship.
final
I
thought.
know, I know.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Emily, you have a final thought for the day?
Glad I could make my podcast debut on a
Yes.
sports podcast
Yes,
where
yes.
my favorite athlete is Jim Nance.
Athlete.
And-
Did he play? Because he's big.
He's a big dude, yeah. I'm sure he played at some high school level or college
Was he?
level.
Big dude?
Big
Yeah,
dude.
it's like 6'3" or so.
surprisingly.
Wow.
Yeah. Emily, what kind of podcast would you do though? If someone said, Emily, you could do a podcast about anything in the world that you're an expert on.
I listen to the Morning Toast.
So does my wife.
Yeah, I have talked to Caitlin about it before. Yeah, just like pop culture news, probably.
What's really filling your cup right now, pop culture wise?
Ooh.
Or something that's like, oh, this is what I'm thinking about right now.
Come
What
on.
am I thinking?
You got some. Okay, I'll come back to you. Think about it for a second.
You seem stressed.
Here's my final thought. So Rich Eisen called me yesterday, and I was with Eddie. We were working out, and I had my Apple Watch on just because I like to see where we are time-wise. I'm just a big time freak. And so it pops up. I don't have his number on my phone, but sometimes their name will be attached to their number. And it's like, L.A., Rich Eisen. And I'm like, Eddie, Rich Eisen's calling me right now.
He's in the middle of a push-up.
Yeah. And so I'm not going to answer. Hey, Rich.
I told him to pick up the phone. He's like, I can't.
First
I'm
of all,
breathing
I'm not going to
heavily.
talk from my watch. And second of all, Rich, hey, buddy. So I don't answer it there. And then I feel like I got to be in the right headspace to talk to Rich Eisen. And like he's been on the show, but that was professional. Like I could talk to anybody in this space, but like human, I struggle a little bit, like one-on-one. And so I didn't call him back at all last night.
What?
You didn't?
Well, I was pretty busy, but still I just wasn't in the right headspace. I was tired. I don't want to like my first talk with Rich not be good. It's like a first date.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I texted him. I said, hey man, I'll be around. So I'm gonna talk to him today, like later this afternoon at like 5. And I don't know what he's gonna say. I hope it's cool, but I'm a little nervous about it. I have it in my calendar.
Dude, what if he's like, hey, here's what you're going to do. Don't do this, do that, do that. Well, you'd be like, oh, yes, Mr. Eisen.
I sure will. You better believe it. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Yes,
Eisen.
sir, I'll do
Whatever you
that.
want.
I did see him comment on your Instagram. That was cool.
Which one? Oh, when I was filling in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said I'll leave the keys under the mat or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope
Awesome.
I hope he's like that in person. I don't know, but I was nervous. It was like watching I was in 8th grade and a girl called, except no girl ever called me in 8th grade, so I didn't know what that was really like. Emily, what do you have now? What are you thinking
You've
about?
had time.
I feel like I've been keeping up with like Rihanna's baby announcement, and then Emrata. Do you guys keep up with Emrata and her new boyfriend?
Who doesn't?
Eric Andre.
Yeah, Eric.
Do you know who these people are?
Hold on a minute.
No idea who that is.
Eric Andre, though, I thought he was with Emily Ratajkowski.
Emrata.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they call her?
Yeah,
Emrata?
yeah.
Okay, because I saw
She
the
said
picture
that
of
like
them
we'd
like.
all know.
What, huh?
She said that like we'd all know.
Sorry.
But then I acted like I knew because I was lying.
You did.
But so I also have been following. You see the Valentine's picture they posted where
Yes.
they were like naked with
Yes.
like hearts?
Go, what?
That's yeah.
Like he gives hope to guys who are
Anyone's
just like funny and normal because it's not like he's ripped up or anything.
Right.
Yeah. So you're upset. You like that relationship?
Yeah, it's just like something current that I've been following. I don't know if they're gonna be together in a week from now, but
You ship
that
it?
was crazy
You,
picture.
you ship them?
I ship.
Okay.
What are you talking
What is
about?
this?
This is
Let
turning
us-
into the morning
Sports
post.
podcast.
Look, here's the thing. I'll go and cover fashion for E, and then I'll go do Rich Eisen.
That's how diverse
Gotta be
you are.
versatile.
I am versatile. That's
Wow.
right. That is right. Well, thank you, Emily, for hopping in here. And I was just like, Emily, you can come sit with us. And I was like, well, just go ahead and sit at a microphone. She's like, this one? I was like, yeah, just go ahead and talk. All right, cool. I was like, check your mic. She's like, why? I was like, who knows? I don't know. Who knows?
Turning our podcast into the breakfast toast.
No, the morning toast.
Whatever.
Don't talk about my girls. Okay? I'm a big Jackie stan, okay?
All right.
All right.
So it's Coleman.
Yeah. Yeah, Jackie's awesome. They're both awesome, but I'm more of a Jackie. You know, she plays a straight person. She's smart.
Yeah.
She sets her sister up for success and she's obviously hilarious, but Jackie, like, that's my girl.
Yeah, she's good.
I'm leaving with Eddie maybe here. Huh?
Yeah. We
right.
both go back and listen to it.
Mike, we good?
We're good.
All right. Thank you, guys. We will see you Monday. Coleman will be in studio. And Emily, you're welcome to join us again if you'd like.
I'll be gone, but thanks for having me.
Oh.
I'm
Oh,
glad.
okay,
It
so
seemed
that's
like
good.
she was about to be the
That's what's
guest of this podcast.
Yeah,
going
no,
forward.
she's our new favorite. Coleman's out. It's just her. All right, thank you guys, and go ahead, and Kevin, blow us out.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know where my
What?
name is.
I got you guys.
come on.
I'm the dependable one.
Go
I got
ahead.
you.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.